Husband's secret affair with stepdaughter leads to murder. In today's episode, we dive into a story of betrayal and murder set in Fayetteville, Arkansas in April 2015. This is the story of Jack Rayner, a successful real estate agent whose life was brutally cut short by someone he trusted most. Jack Rayner, 45, lived in Fayetteville, Arkansas. He was a well-known real estate agent who worked for a local company called Ozark Realty. Jack had a warm smile and a friendly personality, which made him popular with both clients and colleagues. With a degree in business administration from the University of Arkansas, Jack had worked in real estate for over 20 years. Jack was married to Dana Rayner, his second wife. He also had an 18-year-old stepdaughter, Leah Andrews, who was in her first year at the University of Arkansas studying psychology. To outsiders, it seemed like Jack and Leah got along well. Outside of work, Jack loved sailing. He owned a small sailboat named Dreamweaver, which he often took out on Beaver Lake, enjoying weekends feeling the wind and waves. Friends at the local marina remembered him as someone always willing to lend a hand and share a laugh. In the days before his death, Jack was busy with an important real estate deal. He was working hard to close on a large commercial property in downtown Fayetteville, a milestone for his career. At the same time, he was planning a surprise anniversary trip for Dana. He booked a cabin in the Ozark Mountains, bought concert tickets in Little Rock, and even selected a necklace from a local jewelry shop, Silver Cabin, as a gift. Despite his packed schedule, Jack made time every morning to visit the Coffee Nook, a local coffee shop. He'd chat with baristas, enjoy his caramel latte, and read the newspaper. On April 10, 2015, just 2 days before his death, Jack was seen at the Nook, smiling and talking excitedly about his weekend plans. He seemed happy, but under the surface, things were tense at home. Lately, Dana had been acting stressed. She'd noticed changes in Leah's behavior and was suspicious of Jack's late-night work meetings. Friends and neighbors began to sense a strain in the Rayner household. On April 12, 2015, around 7:30 a.m., Jack Rayner's body was discovered. His neighbor, Mike Evans, a 52-year-old retired teacher, found him. Dana had called Mike, worried after not hearing from Jack the previous night. She was out of town visiting her sister and had asked Mike to check on him. When Mike knocked at the Rayner's door and got no answer, he noticed Jack's car in the driveway and decided to try the door, which was unlocked. As he stepped inside, he immediately sensed something was wrong. The house was eerily quiet. Calling out for Jack but getting no reply, he walked through the living room and into the kitchen, where he saw signs of a struggle. Chairs were overturned and broken glass littered the floor. Following the chaotic trail, Mike Evans made his way to the master bedroom. When he opened the door, he was confronted with a horrifying scene. Jack Rayner lay lifeless on the floor in a pool of blood. He had been brutally bludgeoned to death with a hammer, which lay nearby covered in blood. The room was a disaster, with blood splattered across the walls and furniture, revealing that Jack had put up a fierce fight for his life. Shaken, Mike stumbled backward, his hands trembling as he pulled out his cell phone and dialed 911. His voice quivered as he described what he had discovered, while the 911 operator tried to keep him calm, urging him to stay on the line until help arrived. The news of Jack Rayner's shocking death quickly spread through the neighborhood. Soon Maple Street was lined with police cars, and curious neighbors gathered, whispering about the tragedy. Local news stations like KSM and TNA arrived to cover the story, and by noon, Jack's murder was the top news in Fayetteville. For Mike Evans, the experience was traumatic. He had been friends with Jack for years and never imagined finding his neighbor and friend dead in such a brutal way. Speaking with reporters, he described Jack as a good man who didn't deserve such a fate. Jack Rayner's death marked the beginning of a complex and tragic investigation, one that would uncover hidden secrets and reveal shocking truths about those closest to him. The police responded quickly to Mike Evans' 911 call on April 12, 2015, securing the home and ensuring no one entered or left the scene. Soon after, Detectives Sarah Monroe and Jason Carter arrived to lead the investigation. Detective Monroe, known for her sharp attention to detail, was 38 years old and had solved many tough cases. Her partner, Detective Carter, was 42 and well-respected for his methodical approach. Together, they made a strong team. As they walked through the house, they found signs of a violent struggle. The living room was in disarray, with overturned chairs and broken glass. The kitchen was equally chaotic, with dishes scattered on the floor. When they entered the master bedroom, they were confronted with a grisly scene. Jack Rayner's body lay on the floor, surrounded by blood. The hammer, now identified as the murder weapon, was ordered to be collected as evidence by Detective Monroe. The crime scene was deeply disturbing, yet the detectives and forensic team worked methodically. They took numerous photos and gathered samples, using gloves to avoid contaminating any evidence. Blood samples, fingerprints, and the hammer were all carefully collected and sent to the lab for analysis. Outside, neighbors watched as the police worked, and news reporters shared updates with the public. Many described Jack as a friendly and well-liked man, adding pressure on detectives to solve the case quickly. Detectives Monroe and Carter soon interviewed Mike Evans, who was still in shock from his grim discovery. He shared how he had found the door unlocked and described the unsettling mess inside the house. Mike's detailed account helped the detectives put together the events that led up to Jack Rayner's murder. By the end of the day, the police had gathered significant evidence, yet many questions lingered. Who could commit such a brutal act? And what motive could possibly drive someone to take Jack's life? Detectives Monroe and Carter knew this case would be challenging, but they were determined to find answers. Their first suspect was Jack's wife, Dana Rayner. Dana, 34, worked as an accountant at a local firm called Red Line Accounting. Known for her intelligence and meticulous nature, she had worked hard to build a successful career despite a difficult past. Dana had become a mother at 16 and worked in various jobs to support her daughter, Leah. Her strong-willed character was well known among friends and family. Recently, Dana had noticed changes in Leah's behavior, which, along with Jack's frequent late-night work meetings, made her increasingly suspicious. In the weeks leading up to Jack's death, friends and neighbors observed that Dana seemed unusually stressed and on edge, and some reported hearing arguments between her and Jack. On April 13, 2015, detectives Monroe and Carter brought Dana in for questioning. She appeared calm but clearly distraught, explaining that she'd been out of town, visiting her sister Nina in Little Rock during the time of Jack's death. She showed photos and text messages to support her alibi, but the detectives still had doubts. During the questioning, Dana opened up about her relationship with Jack. She admitted they'd been arguing more than usual, mainly over his work and how much time he was spending away from home. She insisted she had nothing to do with his death, claiming she loved him despite their issues. When detectives asked about the night of the murder, Dana explained that she left for Little Rock on the afternoon of April 11 and stayed with Nana until the next morning. Nana confirmed this alibi when detectives reached out. Yet the detectives couldn't ignore the tension they sensed in Dana's voice as she spoke about Jack and her concerns over Leah. They also conducted a search of Dana's car and personal belongings, hoping to find any potential evidence. Although they found nothing directly linking her to the crime, they did discover a diary where Dana had documented her frustrations and suspicions, revealing the stress and emotional turmoil she had been experiencing. Despite her alibi, Dana remained a prime suspect. The detectives continued looking into her background, interviewing friends, family, and coworkers in hopes of uncovering any motive or clue that might tie her to the crime. As the investigation progressed, the pressure on Dana grew, but she maintained her innocence. Their next suspect was Jack's 18-year-old stepdaughter, Leah Andrews. Leah was a freshman studying psychology at the University of Arkansas and was well-liked among friends for her outgoing and ambitious personality. Her friends described her as bright and eager to learn new things. However, Leah and Jack's relationship was complicated. During the investigation, detectives uncovered a shocking secret. Jack Rayner and his 18-year-old stepdaughter, Leah Andrews, had been involved in an affair. This hidden relationship left Leah feeling deeply conflicted and guilty, especially as she saw the strain it was putting on her mother, Dana. On April 14, 2015, detectives Monroe and Carter brought Leah in for questioning. She appeared nervous but cooperated, admitting to the affair and explaining that it had started about 6 months earlier. Leah shared that she had been feeling lonely and confused, and Jack had been a source of comfort. However, she insisted that she had never wanted to harm anyone. During the interrogation, Leah revealed that she had confided in a close friend about the affair and her guilt. This friend, whose name was not disclosed, later confirmed Leah's story to the detectives. Leah recounted that the last time she saw Jack was the night before his death, during which they argued about the affair and the impact it was having on their family. When questioned about her whereabouts on the night of the murder, Leah stated that she had been studying for a midterm exam at a friend's house. Her friend confirmed the alibi, saying Leah had stayed there until the early hours of April 12. Despite this alibi, the detectives remained suspicious, recognizing the emotional turmoil Leah was facing. The police searched Leah's dorm room and belongings, hoping to find any evidence that could link her to the crime. While they found no direct evidence, they did come across several letters and notes exchanged between Leah and Jack, detailing the emotional depth of their relationship and the struggles they both faced. Although Leah's alibi held, the nature of her relationship with Jack and the emotional tension it created kept her on the detectives' list of prime suspects. They continued to interview her friends and classmates, hoping to find any inconsistencies or leads. As the investigation intensified, Leah expressed deep regret for the affair but maintained her innocence. The detectives' inquiry into Leah Andrews was thorough, yet they still faced many unanswered questions. They knew they needed to dig even deeper to uncover the truth behind Jack Rayner's brutal murder. Then, on April 17, 2015, 5 days after Jack's death, the police received a significant break in the case. On a cool, misty morning, a jogger discovered something unusual in a park near Beaver Lake. Partially buried under leaves near a bench was a plastic bag. Curious, the jogger opened it, revealing a blood-stained shirt and a pair of gloves. The jogger immediately called the police. Patrol officers Karen Lewis and Tom Martinez arrived at the scene within minutes, securing the area and calling in detectives Monroe and Carter. The detectives quickly assessed the situation, bagging the items for forensic analysis. They were cautious but hopeful that this new evidence might provide the breakthrough they desperately needed. Back at the Fayetteville Police Department's forensic lab, analysts confirmed that the blood on the shirt matched Jack Rayner's DNA. Even more surprising, the gloves bore fingerprints that were not Jack's. This fresh evidence shifted the direction of the investigation, prompting the detectives to revisit their suspect list and re-examine alibis in light of this unexpected turn. The detectives revisited their list of suspects and re-examined everyone's alibis, carefully combing through surveillance footage from the park and surrounding areas. During this extensive review, they made a surprising discovery. A figure matching Leah Andrews' description was seen entering the park late on the night of Jack Rayner's murder. On April 18, 2015, detectives Monroe and Carter brought Leah back in for questioning. This time, Leah appeared more visibly nervous. She explained that she had gone to the park that night simply to clear her head and had no knowledge of the bloody items that were found there. The detectives pressed her for more details, but Leah held to her story, though somewhat shakily. Meanwhile, the forensic team continued analyzing the evidence. Another critical discovery was made. Hair fibers on the gloves matched Dana Rayner's DNA. This complicated the case further, suggesting potential involvement of both mother and daughter. Later that same day, the detectives called Dana back for questioning. She seemed calm but visibly concerned when presented with the new evidence. Dana admitted she knew about the gloves, explaining she had used them for gardening, though she couldn't account for how they ended up near Beaver Lake. With this new evidence in hand, the detectives were more determined than ever to solve the case. They sensed they were close to the truth but needed to carefully piece together the remaining clues to complete the puzzle. The discovery of the hair fibers on the gloves marked a pivotal moment in the investigation, providing crucial new leads and intensifying the search for Jack Rayner's killer. Their third suspect emerged, Jack's ex-wife, Daisy Rayner. Daisy, 46, was known for her hot-tempered and outspoken personality. She had a long and contentious history with Jack and had never approved of his marriage to Dana. Daisy lived in Fayetteville and managed a local grocery store, Harper's Foods. Detectives Monroe and Carter brought Daisy in for questioning on April 19, 2015. Arriving at the station with a defiant attitude, Daisy was uncooperative, expressing her opinions openly and without reserve. During the interrogation, she admitted that her relationship with Jack had been rocky, describing their marriage as full of arguments and turmoil. She also made it clear that she held Dana in contempt, blaming her for the breakdown of her marriage to Jack, calling her a homewrecker. However, Daisy vehemently denied any involvement in Jack's murder. When pressed about her whereabouts on the night of April 11, 2015, Daisy claimed she had been at home, watching TV and drinking wine, specifically recalling an episode of Dancing with the Stars before going to bed early. With no witnesses to confirm her alibi, the detectives' suspicions lingered. The police conducted a search of Daisy's home, hoping to uncover any evidence that could link her to the crime. During their search of Daisy Rayner's home, the detectives found a few items of interest, including a set of gardening gloves similar to those discovered at the park. However, forensic analysis showed no traces of blood or DNA on these gloves. Despite her alibi and the lack of direct evidence, the detectives continued to investigate Daisy's potential motive. It soon came to light that Daisy had recently learned about Jack's affair with Leah. This revelation added another layer of tension, as friends and coworkers told detectives that Daisy had been deeply upset and vocal about the affair, calling Jack a disgrace and expressing her anger openly. Interviews with Daisy's neighbors revealed that she had been heard shouting about betrayal and lies in the days leading up to the murder. One neighbor, Mrs. Everly, even recalled hearing Daisy yelling about feeling betrayed. Though Daisy remained a suspect, the detectives struggled to gather enough concrete evidence to charge her. She was aggressive and defensive during questioning, but she maintained her innocence. The investigation into Daisy Rayner added another layer of complexity to the case, and the detectives continue working tirelessly to piece together the events that led to Jack's murder. Then, on April 21, 2015, a major breakthrough came. After days of reviewing evidence, detectives Monroe and Carter found a critical piece of footage from a surveillance camera at a nearby gas station. The footage captured Dana Rayner's car, a blue Honda Civic, heading toward Beaver Lake late on the night of the murder. This discovery directly contradicted Dana's alibi. The detectives reviewed the footage carefully. Dana's car was seen passing the gas station around 11:30 p.m. on April 11, placing her near the crime scene at a crucial time. With this new evidence, the detectives grew confident they had identified Jack's killer. On the morning of April 22, 2015, the police arrived at Red Line Accounting, where Dana Rayner worked. It was a sunny day, and local news stations, including KFSM and TNA, were already covering the latest developments. Donna was in her office when the police entered. Although she appeared surprised, she remained composed as they informed her of her arrest for her husband's murder. As she was led out of her workplace in handcuffs, Dana maintained her innocence, but the evidence against her was overwhelming. The affair between Jack and Leah had driven Dana into a fit of rage. Feeling betrayed by both her husband and her daughter, the detectives believed that Dana confronted Jack on the night of the murder. The confrontation escalated, and Dana, in a fit of fury, grabbed a hammer and struck Jack fatally multiple times. Dana's arrest shocked the community. Neighbors and friends couldn't believe that the hardworking, composed woman they knew could be capable of such a violent act. The news spread rapidly, with headlines in the Fayetteville Observer and segments on local news stations detailing her arrest. Jack's family had mixed reactions to the news. Some were relieved that the murderer had been caught, while others were devastated by the betrayal. Leah, in particular, was heartbroken, as she had now lost both her stepfather and her mother in a matter of days. The emotional toll on Jack Rayner's family was immense. In a matter of days, Leah Andrews lost both her stepfather and, as it seemed, her mother. As Dana Rayner was taken to the police station, she continued to deny any involvement in Jack's murder. However, the detectives were confident in their findings. The surveillance footage, along with forensic evidence and Dana's conflicting statements, painted a clear picture of her guilt. The Fayetteville community was left reeling, struggling to come to terms with the tragic events that had unfolded. Jack Rayner's murder had not only uncovered deep family secrets, but also left a lasting impact on everyone who knew him. While the case had been solved, the emotional scars left by the tragedy would take much longer to heal. On July 15, 2015, Dana Rayner's trial for the murder of her husband, Jack Rayner, began at the Washington County Courthouse in Fayetteville. The courtroom was packed with reporters from local news stations, including KSSM and TNA, as well as concerned members of the community. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Robert Stevens, a 45-year-old known for his tough and relentless approach in the courtroom. Stevens argued that Dana's motive for the murder was her discovery of the affair between Jack and Leah. He painted a picture of a woman pushed to her breaking point by betrayal and emotional turmoil. The prosecution presented the surveillance footage showing Dana's car near Beaver Lake on the night of the murder, forensic evidence from the crime scene, and her conflicting statements to the police. On the defense side was attorney Michelle Williams, 39, a lawyer known for her calm demeanor and sharp legal mind. She argued that Dana was innocent and that the evidence against her was purely circumstantial. Williams suggested that someone else could have committed the murder, possibly out of jealousy or anger, and questioned the reliability of the surveillance footage. She emphasized that no witnesses had directly seen Dana commit the crime. Throughout the trial, Jack Rayner's family sat in the front row, torn between anger and sadness. Leah, in particular, struggled with the emotional weight of the trial, having lost her stepfather and now facing the possibility of losing her mother to a life sentence. After 2 weeks of intense testimony, the jury deliberated for 3 days. On August 3, 2015, they returned with the verdict. Dana Rayner was found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom was tense as the verdict was read. Dana showed little emotion, while Jack's family wept and embraced one another. The local news immediately reported the verdict, and the story was widely covered by the Fayetteville Observer. Judge Lisa Everly sentenced Dana to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She stated that the evidence clearly showed Dana's guilt and that the crime stemmed from intense personal betrayal and anger. Judge Everly expressed sympathy for Jack's family, hoping that the sentence would bring them some closure. The reaction to the verdict was mixed within the community. Some felt that justice had been served, while others believed the sentence was too harsh, given Dana's difficult past and the emotional stress she had been under. Jack Rayner's family, however, felt a sense of relief that the ordeal was finally over and that the person responsible for his death had been held accountable. The trial and sentencing brought closure to a tragic chapter for the Rayner family and the Fayetteville community. Jack Rayner's murder and its aftermath left deep emotional scars, but the verdict provided a sense of justice and a step toward healing. Life gradually returned to normal for those involved, but the impact of Jack's death lingered. For Dana Rayner, now serving her sentence at the Arkansas Department of Correction, life became a strict routine with limited family and friend visits and tight rules governing her daily activities. The intense media coverage that had surrounded the trial slowly faded, replaced by other local stories and events in Fayetteville, like the annual Bikes, Blues, and BBQ motorcycle rally. Leah Andrews, now 19, returned to the University of Arkansas to continue her studies in psychology. She struggled with guilt and grief over her role in the affair that ultimately contributed to her stepfather's death. Leah sought counseling to help cope with the emotional toll, working to rebuild family relationships and distancing herself from the media. She focused on her studies and volunteered at local animal shelters, seeking to find purpose and healing. Detective Sarah Monroe received recognition for her work in solving the high-profile case and continued her career at the Fayetteville Police Department, taking on new cases and mentoring younger detectives. Her partner, Detective Jason Carter, transferred to the Northwest Arkansas Drug Task Force, where he applied his investigative skills to combat drug-related crimes in the region. In the Fayetteville community, Jack Rayner's memory endured. Neighbors and friends remembered him as a friendly, successful real estate agent with a love for sailing on Beaver Lake. The local Rotary Club held a memorial service in his honor, and a plaque was installed at the Fayetteville Town Center to commemorate his life and contributions to the community. Jack's family, especially his first wife, Daisy, found comfort and support in one another. Daisy dedicated herself to her career at Harper's Foods and became active in local charity events, including the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure in Bentonville. She stayed close to her family and provided support for her grandchildren, who missed their stepfather dearly. As time passed, the scars left by Jack Rayner's murder slowly began to heal. Although the memory of the tragic events of April 2015 remain a part of Fayetteville's history, the community rallied around the Rayner family, offering support and understanding as they move forward. This tragic story of love, betrayal, and murder serves as a powerful reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the devastating effects of unchecked emotions. Thank you for joining us for this episode of today's crime case. Stay tuned for more stories that uncover the darkest corners of the human psyche. Until next time, stay safe.